Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Voice in the Hollow. My name is Miguel Ortega.
And I'm Tran.
So this is a weekly vlog showing the progress of a short film made entirely in Unreal Engine 5. Unreal Engine is fairly new, so this is us figuring out all the bugs and quirks in the process. So this is already 21 weeks in.
Yes.
So we have we're pretty far along, and there's very little asset building at this point. But this week we'll go over some of the cool things Tran built, and some of the lighting and animation stuff on my end. Tran, do you want to start?
Yeah, so this week I did a couple things. I'll start with this right here, which I have open, which is our anteater character on a platter. So there's a beginning sequence where they are hunting, these two sisters are hunting this creature, and this again shows up later in the scene as like a food platter. So I didn't make a lot of this stuff from scratch at all. The only thing I really made in the beginning was just this anteater. And a lot of these were just gathered references and different scans and free models on the internet. And then a couple of things here and there are actually from Megascans. So in my Maya file, I have something like this, and I just sat here and I arranged it. Now, it didn't really take that long to actually make this piece, right? But it took a long time to actually import this into Unreal. So that's where I get a lot of my bottleneck, is trying to export. Well, not exporting. Exporting out of Maya is easy. It's just trying to import it correctly. So I get a lot of errors, or sometimes it gets stuck. So something like this ended up taking much longer. In particular, what is tricky, what I had trouble exporting was actually some of these vegetation here when I would combine them. And I tried to export this whole piece or import it into Unreal. It just sat there and it froze for like several hours. And it's not really that heavy. And I wasn't trying to convert it to nanite. So I ended up having to do a couple of weird stuff. So what I ended up doing here, the purpose is for me, when I make these assets, I have to import it, convert it to like an Unreal asset, and then I migrate it out so that Miguel can have it in the scene. And I like the idea, or it just makes things a lot easier if all my objects are actually zeroed out in space, right? So if you look at my anteater, everything's zeroed out, right? And then this way, when you move things around, they all move together and it's really easy to move. So that was the idea of just trying to build it in Maya and export it. But again, it just wouldn't import it in. And I'm not really sure what causes this. I haven't been able to figure out the problem. It's not an issue really that has to do with high poly count. It could be like a really low poly mesh, and it just will not import in. So something wrong with the mesh. So what I ended up doing, which is exporting in options, and all I did was just grab what I could manage in here, which is just this one leaf. So I was able to bring this one piece in. And then what I did then was just lay them all out. So these are all single pieces, and they don't have zeroed out rotations, right? So once I laid these out, I just grabbed these and I just merged my actors with my pivot point at 0, like this. And I won't hit merge because it will just sit there and process. And then it will ask where I want to save this stuff. Where's my browser? And then I'll select this section here, right? And it'll export this whole new mesh. And then that will be all zeroed out. So that's what I ended up doing. And then this is also why I have so many pieces. I just had problems. In particular, this one asset probably has the most subsurface scattering of material of any other one, particularly because it's food. And then the subsurface was pretty simple to set up, right? So it's basic shader. The only thing I changed in the setting, let's maximize this, is that my shading model is subsurface and opaque, and then I just have subsurface profile attached to it, and that's it. And you can see, you know, they feel very subsurfacey.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah, which makes it feel more, you know, delicious as food.
Can you like zoom in and show it?
I didn't do anything fancy with the shading, so because it's pretty much in the dark and it shows up very briefly and in like one shot, but you can see.
Yeah, so we debated making him look cooked, but we were afraid that since it's such a weird looking thing that you wouldn't even know what it is.
Yeah.
So we just kept him the same, and also since he looks like he's made out of fabric.
It doesn't read. I don't know if I have my references still. Give me 1 second.
While you do that, I'll just say hi to the people that are here today. So Mendo Studios,
I don't, but basically, you know, I can just pull up.
Shahab. Hello.
So, you know, I looked up like roast pig. You know, you get something like this. This is kind of what it's based on. But the idea of like roasting this creature that looks like it's made out of wood and cloth didn't really seem like it made any sense. So I didn't do that. So that was one thing. The other thing I'll show, let me just load up this other map that I worked on. Was this beach environment here. I keep closing my browser. And let me just pull up my sequence. So I started doing this scene, and we showed it in the past, or Miguel showed it, and it looked like this before. So that's what we had before as kind of like, you know, early start, and it looks very nice. But I wanted to feel more like our village scene. So we have a village scene here in our story. So then I changed the lighting a little bit, or at least the color temperature, and then I just placed all these other props. And then I had to make a few new ones. So I made 2 new boats here, and this one here. Right. Let me just move around the scene.
Yeah, those guys look cool.
So that's the main angle, or at least the angle I'm starting at. You can feel a bit of the village back there. And it's just a few other angles. They're not necessary for the shot, but just so you can see the other side. And this is like the entrance towards like the beach. So it's just another scene here. Here, you can actually see what this boat looks like. Change my camera speed. Just hide these. So here's one of the boats. And then this is partial kitbash, right? So Miguel made...
Wait, zoom into that a little bit more.
Zoom into it more.
Yeah, just show it.
Let's rotate it.
So weird looking.
Yes, so these are actually based on real primitive looking boats. So I would not say these are original, but they're really interesting looking.
They look so makeshift, like whatever they ended up with is whatever they had available is what's part of the boat.
Yes, and they have like little roofs and these little houses on top, which is really neat. Let me see if I can pull up what I based this off of.
Question is, do we have issues with the fog and drone type shots from the top? We haven't done drone type shots from the top, so maybe we will, but thankfully we haven't yet. I don't do a lot of moving cameras, so I try to keep it, even if there's movement, it's very subtle. So I don't think we're gonna have that kind of issue, but if we do, I'll let you know.
So these boats are based on something real, right? So this is I'm not going to pronounce it correctly, but this is scan data. I didn't model anything off of this. Basically, just looked at it and tried to recreate something similar, right? And they're really interesting. So I guess these are used to keep it afloat, and they have like a little hut and a lot of these primitive ones. So that's what this one is based off. And the second one here, which let's go over.
It's like you're using Sketchfab to look at scans.
Yes, to scan.
Just to rotate around it, but then you're rebuilding it.
Yeah, because if you try to clean up a scan, it would take forever. Basically, I just looked at it. I'm like, what looks like this? And I just went into Megascans. So, and you have to be kind of creative. Sometimes if you try to search for whatever the asset is, it's never going to show up. So I just basically look under everything.
Alex says the scene looks awesome.
Oh, thank you. I basically search up a bunch of stuff and I go, well, what actually looks like that one piece? Miguel made this canoe part, which is really nice. So we have variation, right? So we have this one without it, and then these with this little roof on top and these paddles. And then I just kitbash. So most of these here, aside from what Miguel made, are Megascan assets. I made this weird little thatch. I basically grabbed a texture and just slapped it on top and just kind of sculpted on it. And then, of course, this is just made from Marvelous after that, so I just simmed that. Now, what I did here with this one, and this gets into nerdy pipeline stuff, is they, of course, since they're made from Megascans, they're not being uniquely textured. They already have existing textures, right, and existing UVs. And what I did is I assigned them, I color coded each shader based on the texture. So whatever is orange has the same texture, basically the same assets. Same thing here, whatever is blue. Now, I could just export this whole thing and bring that in, and it would come in multiple pieces. But sometimes it's really a pain in the butt, especially trying to grab this stuff in sequencer. You end up with however many asset pieces there are. So all of a sudden your sequencer will be full of a bunch of pieces, and it gets kind of hard to manage. So what I did is I wanted to combine them. And there is like a trick to dealing with them. So what you have to do with your UVs, if I combine them, meaning I just go to mesh, combine, and it becomes one solid object, is you cannot have your UVs overlapping per material. So you can see this piece here has its own UDIM, right? And then all these other ones here, like the blue one here, has its own. And then the boat has its own. If you do bring them overlapping on top of each other, you'll get this error, which I tried to look up, and it was really vague. But basically, it was a MIC-T space normal error, which is new to me because, you know, the game pipeline is new, but I believe this is how you spell it. So I got this error here. And the only way to fix it is remove overlapping stuff. These can import it in fine, so they're pretty reduced. This piece had to be exported separately because it has an opacity map, right? So these were actually made into nanite just to reduce the poly count. So you can see here, it's just one whole piece. Now, once it's exported, it does recognize all the different materials, right? If you assign the materials first, like what I did, in here, it will remember all of this. Now, a lot of the stuff that gets kind of a pain in the butt is how you deal with Alembics material assignments versus how you deal with an FBX. They're very different. So, not very different, but they're different slightly enough that for you to mess up, or at least for me to mess up. So if you look here at my material assignments, it will recognize this name here. So not in the shader group, right? So whatever you have name in your actual material, if that name matches an existing material with the same name. So if I come over here and just go to this, it will just import it matching up. All you have to do when you import it, let's just do one. And I won't actually import it completely because I think it can take a long time. So let's say I try to import FBX, I just drag and drop it in. All you have to do when you do this is under material, well, I usually tell it not to do it and to actually find it. So it will try to search for it. So under search location, I just put this as a parent, and then it will usually find whatever it is. So let me just cancel that. Anyway, those things don't seem like a big deal, but they take a long time when you're trying to figure that out. With Alembics, it's different. So with Alembics, it recognizes the name of the shading group, and you have to assign by faces. Whereas FBX will recognize it if you just assign it by object. But that's pretty much what I have here and what I managed to get done. I do feel that importing is a really big problem. It feels like rendering. So a lot of the times, like there's huge benefits to using Unreal. Everything is real time. But sometimes when you're just having massive import problems and trying to troubleshoot it, it's where it actually chokes me up the most. It's just trying to figure out why I can't get something into my scene. Yeah. But this is what we have here.
Cool.
You ready? Want to show some stuff?
Yeah, I'll show some stuff. Okay, so let me take over. So this week, let me see if I can see. Can you see my screen at all? Okay.
Yeah.
So this week, I was just trying to wrap this ceremony sequence up. I knew I needed to do the recording with the actors, so we had to set up the time and record two different actors. All our actors are in Africa, so they're all in Tanzania. So that was a pain in the ass. So we got that out of the way, and then a lot of the stuff was just cleaning up certain things, and I'll show you. Let me just play through it, and you'll see. There's still one scene that I feel is missing. I'll play it, and you'll see.
Wawindaji sugu pekee ndio watakaozaliwa upya kama juu, na wale tu wanaokaa wana thamani ndio watakaovaa barakoa. Kutenganisha walio na nguvu kutoka kwa wahafifu, kuvuka katikati ya miale uwindaji wa kike.
Nina nguvu, mimi ni chui.
So that's it. So she storms off. Thank you so much. We have some.
Thank you.
When I go back and I hear some of the streams, so I can hear my beautiful voice, I realize that the audio sounds really messed up on these things. You're not getting the fidelity. But yeah, the voice was great. So we had originally recorded the father and the priest to be the same actor. And the father actor was great, but I felt that he sounded too much like a nice guy, and I wanted to get someone that had a much deeper, dare I say, almost like James Earl Jones kind of voice. This guy doesn't necessarily have a James Earl Jones level voice, but he has a much deeper voice that I felt was very important for the high priest. So we got him. He was a little tougher to schedule, but I'm really happy that we ended up.
You had to do like the session like.
Like at 4 a.m. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then the next day I'm like completely dead. So the other thing, it seems very trivial. It doesn't seem like it's a lot, but I had placed all these guys before, but they all had the same mask, and I had originally done them with just a simple, just kind of offsetting the same animation. So now all of them are doing different animations, so it's all different Olympics, and you can see they all have different masks. All their body paint is different as well. So that took a while. Here we could see our yummy platter. So it looks really cool here. And we wanted to tie this in, of course, with the beginning, which is when, let me see if I can find this here. Which is when she actually kills it, which I'll just jump over here.
Ni mawindo yangu, ulichelewa tena.
Which we recorded a few little lines here as well, I'll show you. A little, I wanted to put that in there, and right here. That wasn't there before, so we put that in there. But
So
anyway,
you did multiple recording sessions.
yeah.
This week.
So back to this. So there's our little guy from the field to the platter. And like we said, we thought about cooking him, but we wanted to make sure that the connection was super clear.
Yeah, you know what like roast meat looks like, but what does a roast cloth anteater that looks like it's carved out of wood look like?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I felt that this shot I liked it. I mean, I literally made this shot on the stream, but I felt like there was something missing in the background, and that was like a perfect place for it. We did a version of this guy like in every different location of this stage, and it just never felt right anywhere. But this was like a perfect place to show it, not lose her, so she's still in the shot, but she's in the background. So it's just still moving along. It's super tight, and then still use that to decorate the background here, because when I put the people back there, it didn't work fully. It felt too busy, but with that little guy there, I think it looks great. So
Yeah.
very happy with that.
And it's actually really important to our story. So it's not like we just, want to make a dead anteater in a food platter for no reason.
Yeah,
So it's connected to why she's there.
totally. So this one we fixed the problem where we had like a hard line on the fire. And the problem was basically, if I render it at 1920 by 1080, it's fine. If I render it any higher, I get a white line right in the fire. So I don't know what that is. The fire is having some issues here. If you step through it, I have to look into this. You can see it all turns off for a frame.
It's like loading or something.
Yeah, so I need to figure that out. It might just be restarting the computer, but I just didn't do it.
Yeah, we're afraid to upgrade to. We don't have the very latest Unreal, but it is Unreal 5. I think we're like one version. But at this point, like every time we've upgraded or updated Unreal, it's broken all our lighting in our scene, and we just have so many scenes that we can't we can't relight all that stuff. So
Yeah.
we're just stuck to this older one. Like I see a comment that sounds very helpful, that in the latest Unreal, importing FBX is much faster. But
There's a
But-
comment for that?
yeah, right here. Change to Unreal
Oh, yeah.
5.2 is much faster. And I would like to, but I don't think we're going to upgrade until we do like a new project.
Yeah.
Because
It's been catastrophic when we updated.
yeah, we like lost a lot of time.
We'll lose like an entire week. So this shot was added in because there was concern that once we added the voice in, like in these shots here,
wawindaji sugu pekee.
you know, the usual way you want to set up your shots is like establishing shot, and then you go to wide or middle, and then close up. Here we're starting with inserts. So the concern was, are people going to know that that voice is coming from that guy? Right? It's coming from the priest. He's not here. He's not here. Then we cut to this mask. I was concerned that people are going to think it's coming from him. But one of the things I want to do is have some chanting. So you can see they're all saying this line, I am strong, I am a leopard. Which, by the way, I had to like write this down phonetically because all the chanting is me, because I had to layer it up. And what I want to do is I'm teaching a class this weekend at Gnomon. So I'm going to take my recorder and just ask the whole class to just say this line over and over. So I have a whole group of people hopefully saying it. But you see I'm breaking it down phonetically to create the chanting in the background. But anyway, the concern was, are people going to know that where that voice is coming from? So I thought it was important to put this in there. Well, Tran thought it was important.
Igamagoti ala.
It's a cool shot too.
It's a cool shot.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff that we were doing this week, a little bit more together, as we sat down and go, okay, how does this work for the story? How does this connect to the stuff before, and just kind of reanalyzing it, and then trying to make sure our story is clear. So
Yeah, I might have to go into Nuke and like, I don't know if there's a solution for this, but in areas where the geometry gets too thin, you can see it just looks like it disappears. I mean, that's easy enough to do in Nuke. I could just do a roto line and then give it a thickness and just grade it to the same color. So I might do that, worst case scenario, but that's something that's driving me a little bit crazy. I mean, that's an issue. We would have that issue even if it wasn't Unreal.
yeah, because it's just very thin.
Yeah. And then I have another issue over here with the depth of field that I need to look into as well on the right-hand side. These warriors were added in this week. They're me, basically. I mocapped myself, and then the motion capture was cleaned up by Christian Borza, who's an ex-Gnomon student who's been helping me with this stuff. So that was a big help, and then we had to sim the clothing.
Nawe wa kike watatu.
So originally there was going to be 4, but they just started taking up the entire stage, so we're just going to keep it with 2. The other issue we had is we wanted to make sure that people knew who the father was. So Tran had to retexture one of the masks to have a V shape on it, which I'll show you in a second. I don't actually even think I rendered it out yet,
Yeah, you didn't do the father one.
but I'll show it in Unreal. This part was kind of tricky, getting the edit for this, because I was like, okay, how am I going to get the mask to go on her? And I just used a technique that we used on another project. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Give me 1 second. I'll pull this up. Let's see. here it is. So, let me pull this up. So, this is a project we did for this musician guy, and we needed to get this mask on this actress, which is a skulled bridle. It's got all these sharp points to it. It's very dangerous to like just put on close to your face. So we had to figure out a really quick way of putting this mask on. It probably would take you 5 minutes just to put this on. So I'll show you. So you can see he's got all the blades and stuff. So you could see the technique that I did for that was just have him come into the frame, basically cover up the frame, move backwards, and boom, the mask is there, right? So I was like, oh, I'm going to use I'm going to rip myself off and use the exact same thing for this.
This is that shot was going real slow.
So I think that worked out pretty well. So I had to record this line from our actress Rosaline. So she's great. So we did that. So this is, I feel like I'm missing a shot here. I feel like she needs to stand up and turn around and address the crowd and say, you know, I am strong, I am a leopard. To really trigger her to freak out like this. You could see, if we look at this, it's just basically me. It's just layers and layers of me saying the same thing over and over. So doing terrible voices. Let me see, this one's very light. Some of them I kept them at different volumes on purpose just to kind of layer it. So those, I probably slowed them down. Oh, I didn't. I think I just did that one straight. Just layering it over and over and over and over to create the crowd. For now, I do want to use like a bigger group of people. So that's the actual actress. Then I layered the actual actor, the Tanzanian actor. And then, like I said, like the rest of them are just me. But they work. It works pretty well. Let's go in there for a second. Let's make sure that they're not soloed. They work pretty well. So we originally did a take with the music where the music gets much more amplified there and the drums start going louder, but I didn't want it to feel like the music is changing in the room. I wanted the music to feel like that's the music that is happening in the room. Music goes down and then getting the intensity with the crowd. That way her annoyance is coming from everyone kind of agreeing with her sister and her sister being part of this tribe now or this group of hunters and making that be the musical thing that drives her, you know, to run out of there. So I still want to be a little bit stronger with it, but yeah, that's the idea. So give me 1 second. What else do we have here? What else did we do? Oh, here's another one. So these drummers, originally they had like these long sleeves, and we started looking at them, and they started feeling like they were wearing pajamas. We talked about this a little bit last week because it was like the little tassels in the head and then these long sleeves. They just felt like they woke up late to do the drum session, and then they forgot to take their pajamas off, so we just got rid of that.
Na wale tu wanaokaa wanatamani ndio watakaovaa barakoa.
I think the big thing, I need to figure out a proper workflow for this, but another issue we're having is just the depth of field with the particles. So on some shots, I'm turning on the render before depth of field, and then for other shots, I'm doing it the other way. So if everything is in focus, I need to have it set one way, and if it's a shallow depth of field, I have to set it another way, or else you're going to see the embers traveling. So that's something I need to figure out. These depth of field issues, I still have to figure out. One of the things that's a little bit annoying about this stuff is this would be super simple to do in Nuke, where I could just render the render layers, render the foreground and the background, and then just defocus this. But the way the layer system works in Unreal doesn't make any sense to me. So it'll render the background and then it'll render the foreground. So let's say like that. So then you would defocus this and you would think, okay, that's perfect. Now, this line is happening because it's basically going transparent and there's no information behind it, right? It's just a post effect. Think two-dimensionally, when something goes out of focus to the point that it almost becomes see-through, if you're still thinking two-dimensionally, there's nothing behind it as it goes transparent, so it goes to this black line here. So the thing that makes no sense is I thought, oh, if I render it with layers, I'll be able to defocus this foreground piece, and then the background will be normal, and I'll be able to push the defocus as much, and I'm not going to get the black line. But when you use render layers, it basically, even though the foreground is rendered separate, the background has a black cutout of the original foreground object, kind of defeating the purpose of that, because you want to be able to defocus it, again, to the point it goes see-through. The best example is if you were to put a spider web in front of the lens. If the spider web is in focus, you're going to see the spider web and everything in the background is going to be out of focus. But if you focus on the background, the spider web will basically look like it's not even there. It'll look completely see-through because it's so thin. Problem is, there is no such thing as see-through if you're thinking as a two-dimensional image, because that spider web has no information behind it, right? It's rendered two-dimensionally. So when it goes invisible, but it starts revealing the black cutout behind it. So that's what you're seeing here. But anyway, that's where can you watch the video? We're not done with it. So we're still working on it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this is our weekly progress.
Yeah, this is it. This is us working on it. So, all right, so this is all done. So then the next thing after this is her storming out, which I don't have that done yet. So, yeah. So I could show you, like, the problem we're having today is the next. Without fog, it's not on the depth. I saw some video about fog. It's not on depth of field. I put like here. Yeah. Yeah, I have to figure that out. Okay, so here, for example, this father, I'll show you, like we're rendering it with like a V shape. So we could recognize the father, so we could go to Dad's Fikoa. I'll show you right now. Just give me 1 second. These scenes are getting insanely heavy. There's like 1,000 candles, 1,000 torches. So it takes a second sometimes to jump around. Usually just initially, once it's loaded, once it goes pretty quick. So you can see the father here. We put the shape on his mask so that you would know it's the father. So you just need that kind of stuff. Like a great example of that is Star Wars: The Force Awakens, when the dead stormtrooper smears blood on Finn's helmet. That's not just for the story. That's so you could keep track of who's who, right? That's really the reason why that's there, because they were like, how are you going to know that that's Finn? So that's exactly what's happening here. is where like, how do we know that that's the father? So we have to put some sort of symbol. He would be the only one that has this. And we have to do that in the beginning, which we don't have that. So that's another issue. We're really trying to make the mask a bigger deal, because the mask represents, that is the logo of our film, literally, like you could see here. So, so we want that to be, what am I saying? We want the father to be much more identifiable, not just here, but in the beginning sequence we have, hold on a second. Where is it? We have the father appear, and I think we have to figure out what we're going to do about that, because when you see him for the first time, you hear this. So I think we're going to have to put the mask on him, kind of like as a visor, like he has it lifted up. And then these shots that we have of the father afterwards, I think we're going to have to get the mask in there somehow, because I think the mask is such an important thing. Even if he's holding it in his hand, that might be a good idea.
He's holding on his hand? Yeah.
Yeah, like he could be holding it right there.
Uh-huh.
So, and that's, you can see the anteater's missing at the moment there. So we have to figure that out. But yeah, so, all right, so what's next here? So I got to do this. So she storms out. What is going to happen outside? So originally we thought we were going to cut to this shot here. I'll show you. And it totally doesn't work, and I'll show you why it doesn't work. To this exterior shot of the village. Audio aside, the reason why it's not working, give me 1 second. The reason why it's not working is that this shot and this shot are too similar. So it just almost it's pretty much the same angle.
It feels jump cutty.
It feels jump cutty, totally. So we're going to have to do a shot where we start with her much closer and then end up with this shot. So this would be the last shot of the sequence, which is just her walking out. So the way I'm kind of envisioning this, I guess we should just do it here, and it's going to look rough, but it's okay. So I'm not going to worry about, some of the assets might need to be adjusted. So I'm going to go to the village here. So at this point, it's more story-centric that we're going to be talking about, like getting the edit to work rather than making the shots look good. So just give me a second. We'll load up the village exterior. This stuff takes a while, opening up different maps and stuff. So let's see. So one of the questions here, can we have access to watch this session later from a different time zone? Yes, David. Is it David? Yes, it's all on YouTube, so you can watch all of this on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on Gnomon's channel.
Yeah. Okay, so there's our village, and let me just open up the town. I believe it's this one. Okay, so let's just play the entire animation that we have here. So all of this animation is recorded at the same time, meaning it's just one long take. So really kind of treating this like live action. So she walks out, she's bummed out, she looks at something, she sees it, let me increase the time here. She sees it, we don't know what it is, she picks up a rock and she throws it, someone screams at her and she runs off, right? All right, so this is what I'm thinking that we're gonna have to do editorially. We're gonna have to go to, let me find my cameras. Oh, it might actually be my other shot. It might be this one, so let me try that. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking we should do. Start with something like this. We obviously don't have anything built in the background, but you can see that she looks more sad, right? She looks over. What does she see? She sees the symbol of the tribe, the mask, right? Then we have to cut to her picking it up. So I need another shot for that. So let's kind of set that up. So I'll create a camera here. I'm going to set this to like 1.2, I think is what I have. Okay. So let's just get her in position here so she reaches to get something. Okay, so I'm just finding the shot. So again, we're not doing any lighting at the moment. This is going to look terrible. We're just trying to get this into the edit to see if it works. Okay. So I want this to be a wider shot, so I'll change the focal length, something like 18 or something. Let me change my pivot. I think the single biggest thing I struggle with in Unreal, without a doubt in the world, navigation. Oh my God.
I struggle with it too.
I seriously struggle with it. It is the thing that kills me. Okay, so I want her to be picking this up. So this is what I have to ask myself. As my camera goes wider, everything is going to go into focus more. So do I want it to be like this? Have all that background in focus, or do I want it to be more like this? Do I want it to be like this? This actually could look really nice here. What I'll probably do here, though, is I'll push the focal length to something like 80 so that you can see the background starts going out of focus. So we get a nice silhouette there of her bending over to pick something up. So I'm kind of starting to like this much more, so I'll set a keyframe. Give me a second, it's giving me some issues here. Okay. So she bends over to get something. So let's adjust the focus distance. Yeah, that looks good. So we'll save that position right there. And what I'll probably do here, I'll set a keyframe here. She picks up the rock right around here. You don't have to see it. The rock, I mean, you just... And then here, we'll stay around here. We'll give it a little bit of movement, just a tiny bit to give it some life. So you can see what I'm doing here with my keys. And then we can move back up. So let's take a look. So that has no animation, of course, on the face. Okay, but now as she stands up, we have to get that shot. So let's save all. Create another camera. So I'm going to call this, I'm going to start naming my stuff here, rock cam. Let's call it rock side cam. And usually I'll create a new sequence for every single one of these. I'm not doing this right now, which I absolutely should. So let's just see. Okay, so this is, let's just call this Village A. This is going to be our first shot, Village A cam. Okay, so we'll separate all these into different shots in a bit. So our wide shot, this is going to be once she runs out. So someone's going to yell and she's going to run. Okay, cool. So let's go back to this one here. Okay, and let's create another camera. 1.2 aperture. Let's find a good angle here. So I'm going to go, again, 80 is my favorite lens, so I always go for 80 first. As you can see, we're having some issues here with this is getting in the way. So I'm going to hide it for now. So I'll just rotate this a little bit more. Something like that. I wish I could get a little bit more. That looks much better. Remember, we're not lighting this at the moment. We're just figuring out our compositions. I'll set a keyframe here, and then let's get her in focus. Okay, so I like that. So that would cut from, I'll show you. So she would go, boom, pick this up, and you cut on the action. So as she comes up, we cut right away. You always cut. So if I'm about to get up, you would cut right here. And then you would cut back to me getting up or walking away. But you always have to cut on that action. So we're going to go, boom. She picks it up. She goes back, cut. We got to this one. And boom. She just comes right into the frame like this. And boom, she throws something. Remember, there's no facial animation on this, which is pretty cool, the fact that she has a neutral face, yet so much is actually being emoted by the body. She throws it. She hears a scream because she has a terrible aim, so she hits something else. She hears a scream, and then she runs off. Okay? So I like that. I actually think these shots are starting to look nice just as they are. So let's just start doing some lighting on these, especially these close-up ones. Let's just get the lighting in place. I really like this one. So I'm going to save all. So this is going to be my stand-up shot. Let's just call it throw. Stand-up throw. That way it's easy. If this was a professional studio, this would be called like shot A004, A005. I can't work that way. I need to see what everything is. Okay, so let's look at our cameras here. So we have our, this is where we're going to start. No, this is our, okay, this is Village A. So I'm going to name this correctly. Village A, cam. This one here is the drape cam. I don't think this fabric holds up for this, so I think we'll have to put some movement on it in Marvelous or something, like some wind. So, okay, she walks out of the thing. She's feeling like crap. She's not cool enough to be one of the leopards. She looks over. What do we see? The drape. The drape has a little bit of movement to it as well, so that you feel her movement. She's like, screw this, screw these people. Go to the side view, comes down, picks up a rock. Nice shot. This shot I probably wouldn't even change the lighting that much. I might put a little bit of a rim light on her, but I want to keep her silhouetted. She picks up the rock. She does this. Now we go to stand up. Cut over here. And she throws it. Boom. Someone yells, or maybe what I could do, I probably would do is another shot where you see that she completely misses. And then she gets yelled at, cut to, let me increase the length here. Someone screams at her and she runs off. And that's our mini sequence, right? We have to put a bunch of people all over the place and whatnot, but that's pretty easy. So, all right, so let's start kicking these off to render just to see. So you can see I save all the time. So now that I kind of have them figured out, I'm just going to duplicate this, and I'm just going to call this drape. Just duplicate this over here. Pick up rock. I'm just going to keep it more simple. Rock side. Okay, duplicate this. Let's just call this throw. Okay, so the reason why I do that is that now I could go to, let's go to throw, for example. Come over here. So now I'm just going to get rid of all this other stuff that I have there. Link the camera. That's my shot. Get the timing. So it's from here. Just right before she comes in, that'll be my in point. And then my out point will be I actually kind of like that, so I might just go for that. So this will be this whole camera cuts is kind of weird. I mean, I do use this differently. I know you're supposed to edit in here. I would never in my life edit in Unreal. That just seems barbaric.
It does. It's too heavy.
It's too heavy, yeah.
Like, having your scene and all these lights and your graphics card like chugging, and then trying to edit with all that, and then being unable to navigate and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
too hard.
Okay, so let's get her in focus, because now we can see that she's actually animated. She's moving in space, so let's just get our Z distances, or our defocus distances. So right there, you can see she's out of focus now. So manual focus distance, we adjust it. Where are you? There you are. Let's come over here. You see we're losing her right there. I kind of like it going a little soft in certain areas. Oh, but that looks really nice, so never mind. Let's go over here. So I'm just moving this to the side so I can see better. So that looks nice. Adjust it there. What I was going to say is I don't mind it going a little soft at times because I want this to feel like a big inspiration for this entire project is I got obsessed with like 70s exploitation films, like super revenge films, and messed up everything, like all kinds of 1970s. It's not exploitation as much as like crime films and revenge films from the 70s. So I wanted, that's why there's like grain and everything and like film scratches, is because I'm lame like that, and I need to put my influences front and center. So I was watching stuff like Framed and Coffee and, you know, all these different, sometimes amazing, sometimes amazingly terrible films. A lot of Westerns. And that was a big inspiration. And a lot of those, the point is, a lot of those movies, like the focus, it's not perfect because they were so low budget that if they lost focus for a second, they were like, that's good enough. Switchblade Sisters, just a bunch of fun, lame stuff. Jack Hill stuff. Let's see. So that's looking pretty good. Like here, for example, I'm going to let her go out of focus as she comes into the shot. Well, the thing is, the defocus doesn't look that great here, so let's see, maybe that. I wish that silhouette right there was a little bit stronger. So I might have to adjust the camera position a little bit, which I'm kind of dreading. Let's take a look and see. I think it's fine. All right, so let's get some lighting in here now. So I always need to work with two views when I'm lighting. So we'll just come over here. Lights. Put on a spotlight. Spotlight is my light of choice. Whatever works for you is fine. I think I light with spotlights because that's what I use when I'm lighting stuff physically. And even when I started doing CG, like it was mostly spotlights and depth map shadows and all that stuff. I just like the way they work. So in terms of lighting, what I always do is light from the back to the front. In the front, usually not getting anything. So I just want to make sure that the stuff in the background is always the brightest point. So I'll make this more orange. Maybe it's too orange. I might neutralize it a little bit to get some of the colors in there. I'm going to go in and increase my volumetrics just a tiny bit. Maybe not that tiny of a bit. That's too much. That's better. All right, so let's take a look. I might have to rotate this further back. Okay, so let's do that for now, and then let's come over here. This guy will turn off the volumetrics on. And what I'll do, so I have a duplicate now. I'm going to set the light intensity to be like crazy strong. And I just want the rim light to pull her shape out. Lighting is not about illuminating everything. It's more about what you don't illuminate. Just making sure that things read clearly and not muddy, but you don't want to over illuminate everything, or else it's going to look like an episode of Seinfeld. Okay, and I can try to soften the source radius a little bit. Let's do that with our other light as well. Let's just play around with this one for a second. Okay. So I'm going to grab those two lights, and I'm going to drag them into my sequencer. And we'll convert to spawnable. That way they don't show up on every other shot. Okay, so this doesn't have the cloth sim or anything, or the shot modeling, so or any motion blur, so it feels a little bit weird. This is actually a pretty short shot. It's just playing kind of slow. So let's put our bars in there. So yeah, you can see that facial stuff is strictly just blinking. So this is a generic sequence that I did just for kind of debugging stuff. So it's just kind of like being alive, just simple blinks and whatever. So let's save all. All right, so rough first pass lighting, we can put that into the edit. So let's go to rock side. So that's this shot here. So we would want it to start right around here. So I'm going to mark my endpoint. I think that's pretty good right there. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So I know I'm going to cut to the other one as she comes up. So I'm not that worried about her head being cropped off there, but I may as well just address that. So let's go to this right here. Just that. Transform. And this one, I don't know how much lighting I actually want to do to it. Let's just take a look and see. I kind of like it silhouetted. There's a nice feel there, so I might just leave this one. So let's move on from this one. So we'll save all. Let's go to the drape one. So this is the one that I don't think holds up that great. Just going to offset some of the keys. I just want it to have more of a handheld feel. It looks kind of two-dimensional though, this fabric. I wish it like blew in the wind or something. But that's okay. This is just going to be for our edit for now. So let's say we want that up to around here. Put my out point. Probably need a couple more frames in that, so let's do that. Okay. Okay, cool. And then our village wide. So you can see we have a problem with this one, that we have this stick that works really well on some of the other shots, just completely ruining our composition. So it's not a big deal. We'll just drag that into our sequencer. Groups are problematic sometimes. So you can see that everything is kind of separate here. Just middle mouse, not even middle mouse, just drag, and you can see it puts them all together in the sequencer. This thing saved me so much time, just being, I didn't know you could rearrange this stuff because of the way it was thrown in, but yeah, just by just dragging it, you don't have to drag them individually. Just by moving the group selected into any spot, it snaps them all to be together. So that thing is a huge time saver. So let's just come over here and move this over to the side like that. And we'll just go to our transform and add transform. Keys. Okay, so she throws it and then she gets yelled at and off she goes. So really this one should be like right here, starting point, and end point right over here. Let's make this our start point. Okay. So let's give the camera some life here. So this is, so it's not this one, it's not this one. Is it this one? Okay. So this is our camera angle. I might still, let's noodle this a little bit. Speaking of not doing a drone shot, now I'm gonna bite my tongue because it's probably what I'm gonna say. You never say never. And then we'll just push in here a little bit, and up like a drone. So you can see how the fire has these trails here. That's the issue that I was saying earlier, that if I have it set to before depth of field, it looks fantastic when I'm rendering the fire and it's out of focus. But as soon as I have a wide angle and everything is in focus, I get these really long trails with that effect. I'm not sure why that happens. It's kind of annoying though. Okay. So this one I'm going to have to change some of the lighting in because she's getting lost for sure. This stick is driving me crazy. But it's probably gonna start here, so it's fine. But I need something to illuminate her back there. And it's not even that I want to illuminate her, actually. I want to illuminate the background to make her silhouette read. So when I say light her, I don't always necessarily mean lighting her literally. A lot of times it just means clarity. That's all I really care about. You can see I have to deal with the feet issue here. Her feet are going in through the ground. But all that stuff, I don't care about it at this point. So I could do that. The other thing that I could do, which could look really cool, if I go to this one here, I could have her running away from this angle, which I think I'm going to use this angle anyway in some capacity. So I'm just going to copy that. Let's come over here. Let me just see what it looks like seeing her running from this angle. Probably not going to see her at all. Yeah, I literally have no idea where she is. There she is, yeah. So you don't see her at all. And that's fine. I might just do a shot after that, although I do think there's something nice about her running off into the sunset, kind of. There's no sunset, but you know what I mean. So I might just stick with this one. All right, so let's light this one. So let's find her. So what I'll probably do is, since there's a fire somewhat close to her, I'll just create a spotlight. Kind of blame it on the fire. see what I'm doing is by illuminating the ground in front of her, it could look like, well, it makes her silhouette read. That's what I'm trying to do. But I want it to feel like it's coming from the fire. Let's angle this a little bit. All right. So we'll set this to like 300. We'll tint it a little bit warmer. I'm going to play with the volumetrics just to see, but I have a suspicion it's not going to work very well. Doesn't look too bad. You can see it just pulls her out without us actually illuminating her at all. You could just see that silhouette. That's all I care about. I don't necessarily want her to be brighter. So I actually think that actually looks kind of cool. So I'm going to leave that. What I'll probably do is I might add a light function to that to give it the illusion of flicker. So I'll just find my light functions. Light functions basically means, animations that you could, or functions that you could apply to light. So here you can see we have like a subtle flicker, and I'll drag that in there into my light, and now that light is going to have a subtle flicker. Okay, so that's good. Let's save all. So again, we started from like around here.
I like that camera movement you're doing.
This one?
Yeah, that's the, yeah.
That's my drone shot.
Yeah, it is.
So,
But I think it looks nice rather than just pushing through it or whatever.
yeah, it's more of an establishing shot. It's really not a drone shot. What it really is it's a crane shot. Going back to like the 70s stuff, one thing that I would never do on most of my films is like a whip zoom, or crash zoom is what they're called, where the camera just zooms in. I don't like zoom effects, but we are using it here in a few shots.
We do have a crash, what is it called? Crash zoom shot?
Yeah. And again, that's just because I just saw so many of those 70s movies that I wanted to get that in there since.
It works though.
It works.
I was,
You were surprised?
yeah, I was really unsure of it because that's not normally our style. Well, our style is usually like, we're super constrained because when we were doing stuff before Unreal, you had rendered issues, render times. So a lot of our shots had to be locked off just because rendering one frame would take so long.
Yeah.
And now our cameras are becoming a little more dynamic because we don't have to worry about rendering the frames and everything. We still have rendering problems though.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I remember reading some of the reviews on the Ningya when it came out, and a lot of the comments were about how they liked how constrained we were with our camera movements, and we were like, that's because we couldn't afford to render more than one frame. But we were like, we'll take it. We're geniuses. We'll blame it on our. We'll make it seem like we always intended that to be the reason. It was just we couldn't afford to render more. Okay, so let's take a look and see. So, okay, so there's so I'm gonna just get these lights and turn them into spawnable. So let's just take a look at what this looked like before. It doesn't seem like we did a lot here, but just to you can see that here she doesn't read, and all of a sudden she does, right? But we're not putting almost any light on her. We're lighting the stuff behind her because I don't care to illuminate her. I care to have clarity to make her read, and that's all that really matters. And that's it. So we would have that. We have to fix our depth of field issue with the fire, but for now, I don't care. So let's save all. So I'm just gonna get this ready to go into the edit. So we'll render this guy. We'll render this guy. Render this guy. So remember, I don't do editing in here. So I have to render each one of those sequences separately. That's why I'm jumping to all of them. So 1, 2. So you can see right now I have that. So village side. That's like my wide, which I should just call that wide. So it's okay. Which she throws the rock, side, and the drape. So I'm just gonna output these guys. Just give me a second too. Again, like this show it's live. Like we're just working on this stuff on the spot. It's not pre-recorded. We don't know what the hell we're gonna do or whether it's gonna look good that week. Okay, so this is the rock side. I'm just outputting all of these, so just give me a second. I'm just making folders for everything. So normally they have a render folder, but these don't. I don't know why. Just see what this is. Okay, so that's good. So the throw shot. Save that there. And the wide master. Give me 1 second. I did something a little weird here. Not used to rendering like a bunch of sequences at the same time. And the wide master, let's just do that. So we already have one there, so let's do temp 2. We know that's not final. Accept. Save all. I usually set my layout back to just one pane, or one panel. Does it save? Yeah, one pane. Save all. And I'm just going to kick this off to render, and let's see if anybody's asked any questions. So, okay, let's see. So, hey, are you going to edit a condensed version of how we made this movie in 5 easy steps? Yes. It might be, we could probably do it in 4 steps. So, we do have to do something to condense it at the end. We probably will. Whoa, what is going on here with this drape cam? So that is not correct, so I have to figure that out. Okay, let's see. Can we have access to watch the session later? That one I already replied to. I find video title. Okay, I'll take a look at that stuff later. Drone shot is awesome. Yeah, please make one drone shot for fans like me. So, well, we have a drone shot now, or a drone-ish shot. No, that's really a crane shot. That's a very much like the old school crane shots.
It would be drone, I guess, if it kept going
Kept going, yeah.
and pushing through. It's the beginning of a drone shot.
So remember, none of these have any facial stuff on it. It's just
Just to get the story.
just to get the story. They're rendering fairly quick, so that's a good thing. And remember, we're going to put a big crowd of people here, people walking through the bridge, people in the campfire, and everybody in the outside here would not be wearing a mask. Okay, so the drape shot didn't render correctly, so let's just take a look at the drape shot. I know what it is, yeah. I didn't set it in my camera cuts. That's kind of what annoys me about this whole camera cut thing, is it's so clunky. Okay, so let's just render that out. Tran is working on some damaged mask stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
It's pretty cool looking. Remember, this is a revenge movie, or a jealousy movie, so this don't end with a hug. Okay, so let's take a look over here. All right, so that all output. So let's start popping it in here. Oh, you know what? I didn't render the first shot, so let's get the first shot in there. What happened to that one? Oh man, I hope I didn't delete it like an idiot. Let's see. I think I deleted it like an idiot. Yeah, so I deleted the shot of her walking out. So, not the shot, the camera. So let's just, we got to go back over here. It's not hard, but let's just do it. So, I'll probably start with, I'll just duplicate this one. Okay, and I'll just create a new camera. 1.2. And let's go to the beginning of the sequence. Sure we have our letterbox in there. Letterbox is not a huge deal here because it's not perfectly accurate anyway. Crap, that's not the one. This one. Okay, so let's do that. So this is just how I do my camera animation. Just kind of follow her. Just adding keyframes as I go. Trying to maintain a similar distance. I know I'm getting a similar distance if I lose focus. That means I'm not keeping a similar distance. And then there she looks to the side. So here, since that's a moment, I might want to change her from one side of the screen to the other. Possibly. So now I'm going to start putting my focus points. So I'm losing the focus right around here. Oh, am I doing this with a 35mm lens? No wonder it looks crappy. All right, so let's go to like a 120 on this. So I'm just going to delete a couple frames here. So I have this set to maybe 120 is too wide. Not too wide, too long. So let's go with 100. Let's go more side view. I'm just afraid that if I go too long, that I'm going to cut through the set on the other side. Of course, I could get rid of that stuff, but you could kind of already start sensing some of those problems. So let's put that in there. And that background would have to be completely redone. Probably could just grab certain parts from the other part of the town and just throw them in there. So let's start putting focus markers. Focus keys. So I need it to end right there. So let's pull the focus. I hate this shot, so let's figure out why it's terrible. Want it to be more personable, like that. I'm going to keep her on this side. Might be one of the things I don't like about it is it's too much from the front. You might want to keep it more from the side like this. So I'll just delete the other keys. And let's go and find her. Where did you go? So still not a fan of the shot, but that's okay. We'll put it into the edit and see. I hate that movement at the end. Oosh, I hate it. Okay. So I hate this. Okay, so let's try that. So we're kind of losing her right around here, like her placement. So I'm just going to adjust it like that. Let's see what happens if we pull the focal length a little bit. So let's go to 120. I'm going to let some of this part here go out of focus. I think that looks kind of nice. So let's go to the next shot here. Next frame. Next key frame, I should say. Save this, save this. Just move this down a little bit. So again, the background there is terrible. There's nothing there. Let me pull this back. I just want to see what happens. So I think I kind of like this much better. All right, so I'm going to go with that for now. And we crash. Boom. Well, all right, so that shot we're going to have to put on hold for now. Because there's no way we're going to get that done on time. So let's put the other shots in for now. So it's the town sequence. So here, you can see our framing is a little different. Okay, so let's grab that. Let's grab the next shot. Okay, so let's get these two together. So she picks up the thing, cut right there. I do like how that looks right there, but yeah, let's just cut right there. I'm gonna see if I can get away with it right there. Offset this. This one feels so much richer here. This one looks a little washed out, so I'll have to fix this in the lighting, but that's fine. We'll just look at it from an editorial point of view. Let's get our frame. So I have a layer up on the top that has my frame and my noise, my film grain. So just making sure that they don't run out. So yeah, I love the contrast here. Here it looks a little mudded. So we got to fix that. May let her fall more into shadow, keeping that look there that I really like that. It's kind of Apocalypse Now feel. There will be blood sequence, so I like that. This is too muddy. So yeah, we got to get this to fall into shadow more and just rim light it. That's fine. And let's get the next shot in there. So again, this shot I know I don't like. So we'll start right around there. It actually doesn't look as bad as I thought. So way too long. Right there. Maybe a hair more. Cut that right there. Put that in there. So you can see she's losing the composition here. So I'll place that right there. Put a point here. This is because of the weird aspect ratio that I'm using here. So I should probably have an insert here. She throws it. She hits something completely wrong. So, because the whole thing is that she's terrible at what she does. But for now, let's get the wide in there. So we'll have to put in one extra shot in here. So let's see, she does boom, goes back. We could cut it right on that turn. Right there. Right there. You just have to start feeling the head rotating. And then here. Let's find the spot. Right there. Put that in there. She hits something, she misses. Someone yells at her, and she runs off. Boom. There you go. Simple. So,
I gotta make a flag, don't I? 'Cause I think it looks funny.
yeah, I think it's something that's also just blowing in the wind would just look really great.
Okay, like a blowing thingy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you hear someone screaming, "Hey!" And then she just runs off. So I may want to have a longer take of her running. That's all I have for there, but I know that we definitely captured more than that. This was all done at the Gnomon stage. So let me just put my preliminary LUT on this stuff. So I just put it on there. So we have that. This one here is the one that I feel needs some love. You can see the problem is if I bring, the values are just wrong here. Like if I was comping this, I would do this very different. So I need to just adjust this one. So I want to keep this lighting. I really like that. So we'll fix that. This one looks too blown out. Let's just put that in there.
I do like that crane type of shot.
Yeah, and if we have it a little bit longer, like if her run is longer, it could just keep going up a little bit. Chatty on fire, thank you, sir. So we lost that one shot, which is okay because I hated it anyway. But this one is the one that I really like this one.
I like this profile one. Yeah, I think that looks nice.
This one just needs to have its values adjusted. If I were comping this, it'd be very simple. All I would do is just crypto matte the foreground, crunch it up. That would just keep the highlights up and leave the background in focus. Maybe put a little ramp here to soften the values in the background. It'd be super simple. And I might still just do something like that. And then here she runs off. We have to address this, the little particles with the depth of field issues. But yeah, so that's it. So does anybody have any questions for us before we go?
Are you gonna play it one more time?
Well, I did want to play it, but the problem is my idea was to try to have it all play out at the end here, like continuously, like as she storms out. But I'm missing the very important shot, like the connective shot. But
Right.
I mean, I'll play it, but you'll have to kind of imagine that. Let's set this over here, and the music's gonna feel a little bit. How many episodes are left? That's a good question. We're trying to, as soon as we're done, we're trying to be done with this as soon as possible. There's just 2 of us, so literally, if we can't get this thing done, considering this is all we do all the time, I don't know if anybody else can get this done, unless they have a big team, which we don't have. All right, so
Yeah.
let's see.
Wawindaji sugu pekee ndio watakaozaliwa upya kama juu, na wale tu wanaokaa wana thamani ndio watakaovaa barakoa. Kutenganisha walio na nguvu kutoka kwa wahafifu, kuvuka katikati ya miale uwindaji wa kike.
Nina nguvu, mimi ni chui.
So then her walking out, boom, she She stops, she sees the mask, screw those people, throws the rock, someone yells at her, she breaks a window or something, not that there's windows, but she kills a chicken, and then boom, she runs off, and then that's it. And then we cut to the next sequence, which is the beach stuff that Tran was showing earlier, and then we get into some dark stuff here.
Yeah, it goes bad.
Yeah, I'll show you. This is the first time I'm actually even gonna see it this way, but I think so. I think it would be something like this. This is all with one camera, so this is obviously not going to be how it would be.
Yeah, it's still rough.
Beyond rough, yeah. Let's see. So you kind of have to picture some stuff here.
Yeah, use your
You have
imagination.
to use your imagination for a certain part of this.
Baba nakutafuta, lazima twende sasa hivi.
Mkakako karibia unichome.
Sasa hivi ningetaka kukuchoma, ningekuchoma. Lazima twende.
Ngoja tuone kama utapenda.
Jaribu. Hata ungeanguka kutoka kwenye mti, hungegonga ardhi. Wewe si chui.
Nyamaza!
Ningeweza.
Hana, toka! Hapana.
There's no face stuff on this at all right now. So, yeah, you can see it's a happy ending. So, it gets even more fucked up than that. And this is still not done.
That's just the beginning. But, well, it's towards the end, but it
Yeah.
does get worse. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you have a question. Seeing
Seeing the sequence together is insane. How would you gain? Well, you gain it the way we gained it, which, you know, we actually are Gnomon students that became Gnomon teachers. So you could just go to, that's how we did it. We just went to Gnomon, and then, you know, the thing is, I remember when I was going to Gnomon and learning all these things, and I just wanted to be a modeler at the time, and I was like, I don't need this, I don't need that, I don't need all this stuff. And you learned it, but you kind of ignored it. But then when I did need it, and I went back to figure out shit. Now I need to figure out how to do this or how to figure out that. I already had learned it one time, even though I had ignored some of this stuff because I was a modeler. That was my focus. It was much easier to go back to it because I got the concept, right? So the concept wasn't completely alien. So I would recommend that.
Yeah, it's important to have a well-rounded education. I didn't, because I only took some like courses and stuff. And when Miguel and I started doing our own stuff, the thing I suffered from was not having a broad understanding of all these other aspects.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, so, but yeah, you can see this is pretty brutal. So some of the changes that I want to put is, so when the horn sounds, we're establishing that the father is the guy with the horn, right? That's already in there. So when that horn sounds, this girl here is calling her dad, because remember, she's daddy's little girl. She's the one that got the ceremony. She's the prize hunter. She's the best of the best. And this other girl is the inferior one. She actually accidentally kills her. So the whole idea is that she's being taunted here,
Ngoja tuone kama utapenda.
right?
Karibu.
And the other one is mocking her, laughing at her, and she raises the spear, acting like she's going to throw it at the cocky one, the one that gets the mask here, the better hunter. And she keeps mocking her, like, you can't throw for shit. You're not going to hit me. And she throws the spear, not with the intent of hitting her, but just kind of like recklessly throwing it, like grabbing your phone and just doing this. And for the first time ever, she hits her right on the mark, right in the eye, and kills her. So it's not an intentional kill, but it's super horrible. However, once the horn sounds, she does want her dad's attention. And if her dad saw that she killed his favorite daughter,
And she starts calling for her dad.
she starts calling for her dad. We need to have more. Yeah, for real. I need to have more conflict there as she's holding her mouth down, because right now her head just feels completely locked off. And it should feel like it's pinned to the floor, but I want that movement, and then you hear the eye slushing around, like, as she's moving around. So yeah, but you say that this started with noises in the cave. Well, how did that first girl end up in the bottom of the cave, right? This is how. So she needs to get rid of the body, so she goes to ditch her body in the cave. So, yeah. It's pretty messed up, but that's totally why we think it will be awesome, because this is going to be super violent, Swahili, African horror tale in a way, which is...
And an origin story.
Yeah, and an origin story, yeah.
Abel and Cain is like a classic,
So, yeah.
classic story.
So that's where we're going with that. That's it, guys. Any other questions before we wrap it up? Okay, I guess not. So, I guess we'll see you guys next week. If you guys want to follow our work, you can follow us on Instagram, on Half Empty Studios, and we'll see you guys next week. And yeah, talk to you guys soon. Let me see where to turn this. Okay, see you guys.
Thanks, Alex.